Hey, I'm Guy.
I'm John.
It's our YouTube channel. Subscribe to it. If you like this video, hit that like button.
Check out the podcast as well below in the description, and yeah, share it with your friends.
John, we just watched the Rams beat the Buccaneers 30-27 on a game-winning field goal after they literally almost coughed it up. 4 fumbles in the game, 2 in the fourth quarter. But now the NFC Championship game is set. The Niners will be at SoFi Stadium again next Sunday afternoon. Pretty awesome.
Yep. Rams Niners 3.0. Obviously, you know, the number one talking points all week is going to be McVay, Shanahan. Shanahan's beat him 6 straight times. For a split second, you're like, are we getting Jimmy G and Tom Brady? But it turns out Matt Stafford. And to me, the number one thing that stands out about this game, and we talked about it a little bit yesterday we have other videos on YouTube on our podcast, that both these two teams sold out to go all in for this year. They did it differently. The Niners rode with a veteran quarterback over the guy they had traded the farm for because they wanted to win now. And the Los Angeles Rams traded multiple first-round picks, let's face it, for that game. That throw at the end of the game to Cooper Kupp. Like, Jared Goff doesn't have that in the bag. And it worked for both teams. And when the dust settled, and they clearly took different directions here, right? I know the Rams won the division, but it was an interesting season for them, and they had a devastating loss at the end of the year to the Niners. It's Rams-Niners. And, you know, a long time ago, we got 49ers Seattle, which was a fantastic rivalry, but it was short-lived. And, you know, the stats are well documented. The Seattle has owned the 49ers over the years. That is not the case here. And now we get a playoff game of these two coaches, these two brands, these two teams. Sign me the fuck up.
5th NFC title game in 11 years for the Niners. Remember when the year started, there was a lot of discussion we had about whether or not the NFC West was by far and away the best division in football. And then it looked like maybe it wasn't going to be that way. But now it's half the division is in the conference championship game. You gave me the stat earlier about how many between the Rams, Niners, Seahawks?
Well, the Niners have been 5-11. Seattle's been in 2, and now this is the Rams' second, right, in 4 years. So they, you know, the NFC West is well established in this game, and now they've had multiple times where the two teams, Niners, Seattle, and now Niners, Rams, have played each other in the game, which we know how legendary. I mean, we could only pray we get the level of game that we got once upon a time. Harbaugh, Pete Carroll, Richard Sherman, Crabtree.
Don't test me with a sorry-ass receiver.
It does feel like this one has a chance to be pretty explosive. I would imagine the get-in price for this bad boy is going to be triple, quadruple, 5X of what it was just 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, and limited to 7 zip codes, apparently. What do you think of how the Rams come into this game? Niners have an extra day. Rams, obviously the home team, but they're coming back from across the country. A game that it looked like they were going to milk away. But like you said, I mean, Brady made a big-time throw to hit Mike Evans. Stafford hits a big-time throw to hit Cooper Kupp. You know, they are more similar in terms of their deep ball ability than the Niners are with Jimmy, obviously. But just like with the Packers, you see some similarities in, you know, fundamentally what they want to do on offense. The problem, if you're going to say, okay, here's reasons you would want the Niners to play this game, Cam Akers had multiple fumbles, right?
Yeah.
And we watched the way the Niners-Rams game played out the first time. We watched the way the Rams-Bucs game played out. You watched the way the Niners-Packer game played out. Like, these are close games. Running the football is a critical element. So that's one thing. I think the other thing, and you mentioned this on Saturday night during the live stream, the Bucs are a good run defense team. You got to give them some credit for all of the fumble. 3 of the fumbles. One of them was the bad snap, right? The Matthew Stafford wasn't ready for the snap, and it went flying by his ear. That was one of the other fumbles. But you got to give the Bucs defense some of the credit for those fumbles. I think first and foremost, though, it goes back to what you said. The Niners have won 6 in a row, and that's weird. Like, it's when you get 2 good teams for one team in football to win 6 in a row, it's pretty wild. I would rather, I'm sure there'll be a lot of talk this week about it's hard to beat a team 3 twice. It's hard to beat a team 3 times in a row, 3 times in a season, 7 times in a row. And I believe all of those things. I just know this. I think I'd rather be on the team that had won 6 in a row than that had lost 6 in a row. That doesn't guarantee the Niners anything. And honestly, if you told me it was 3-3 or 6-0, it doesn't make me feel any differently about this game. But my point is, I don't think it's bad for the Niners that they won the first 2 matchups. I don't think it's bad for the Niners that they've won 6 in a row against the Rams.
Yeah, I think the Niners get a huge advantage, right? They get to the travel is way easier. They've had crazy travels really the last month. Tennessee, short week. Obviously, the LA game was a road game, but it was an easier travel. Then Dallas, then the Green Bay game. So you get the extra day. The game, to me, you can leave like Saturday afternoon, right? I mean, it's a 45-minute flight. So you get a normal week where the Rams are getting back. By the time they leave the East Coast, we're recording this at 3:45. They probably won't get in onto the plane for another 3 hours. It's a typical like NFL Sunday for them, where the Niners get a big advantage that way, and they just get that extra day rest, which they clearly need. Now, I look at the way the game ended today. Like, Ramsey got beat by a great player. Shit happens. Cooper Kupp had a fumble. Like, whatever. Like, great players screw up every once in a while. I would say the snap that went, that Stafford was ill-prepared for, kind of a random freakish play. To me, the 2 Cam Akers fumbles are a pretty big red flag. Like, he's clearly their most talented running back. He's looked pretty fast and explosive since he's back. But those fumbles, like, is that something now in his head? That's going to be a coaching point all week long. The Niners are going to say, hammer that ball. Like, they're going to utilize this guy.
Right.
To me, the 2 of the 4 fumbles don't mean anything to me. They obviously meant something to that game, but to me, they're one-offs. The Cam Akers thing is not nothing. Now, the second fumble, if you just think about it from just a human element, Ndamukong Suh, one of the biggest guys in the league, leaps, is airbound, all of his body weight. Like, I wonder if just a lot of people would have fumbled in that situation, but may just be a great player or a great play by a really good player. But it still happened, and now that has to be in his head. It's going to be a talking point all week long. Cam Akers, how do you get over this? How do you get over this? Now, on the positive, I thought Stafford he's been good these 2 weeks. I mean, he's really been good. He has not turned the ball over. He hasn't even thrown that many turnover-worthy plays. He's pretty fucking dialed right now. And we talked about the difference. And if you watch Kyle's press conference, he's like, thank God whoever we play, this situation, like, it was fun, the environment, but they're playing in the cold. Like, this isn't real football. Like, this is going to be real. Like, you can run real plays and have real offense.
Yeah.
And Cooper Kupp, I mean, he was a problem last game, and he just had 9 for 183.
Well, you're right? If you were the Niners and I said you could go play this game in L.A., or you could take the Rams with you and go play at Lambeau, they might choose Lambeau. We just saw what that weather did to the Packers passing game, right?
Yes.
Because the Packers are better at it and the Rams are better at it down the field than the 49ers are. But they created turnovers when they played Matthew Stafford. I mean, Matthew Stafford, you're right. He's been good last 2 weeks, but he had that stretch. They sacked him 7 times. They intercepted him twice in each of the 2 games that they played against him this year. The Rams were never quite themselves in the first meeting because they turned it over and then they were playing catch up. So then they overcorrected a little bit in the second meeting after they only ran it 10 times the first time and made the extra effort to run it in the second meeting, week 18, and weren't really able to run it. But you're right. I mean, they have this thing. We saw them out big against the Niners. We saw them out big against the Bucs. That is just really unique. And it's what Stafford is not. He was not Stat Padford against the Bucs.
No.
He was clutch.
And not against Arizona either. He's been dialed these last 2 weeks since the playoffs started. Another thing just to keep an eye on that's going to be a talking point. I know Mayoko tweeted that the X-rays on Trent Williams' ankle are negative.
Huge. Yeah.
Now, I still would imagine he's not going to practice all week. It's going to be just get him to game time. Von Miller's coming on. I mean, that fucking guy looks pretty good right now. They have multiple other pass rushers. Obviously, one of the best players in the league in Aaron Donald. Like, it's going to be a tough matchup, and I think, I mean, I'm really excited, but, I think we both look at this game like a very, very difficult test.
Yeah,
I mean, it's the NFC Championship. I mean, of course it is, but
just if I could jump in on your Trent Williams point, you beat them without him last time. That doesn't mean like you've got that thing figured out. I wouldn't try that again. And him less than 100% and Kittle, and you're right. In some ways, it feels like maybe the Rams are a little. I think that's part of the question. Is like, what are the Rams coming back home with? Are they coming back home with Cam Akers? Yeah, but are they coming back home with Cam Akers hanging his head, or are they coming back home feeling themselves? And I would imagine they're going to come back home. You don't apologize for playoff wins. You come back home feeling yourself. Like, we just did that. That was hard. We just overcame it. Tom Brady had multiple breaks go his way. We had multiple things go against us. Somehow Matt Gay missed a 47-yarder short. Right?
There is a chance the Rams just ended Tom Brady's career.
Well, that's a separate video, I think.
No, I know, but I'm just saying, like, that's just like, if Tom Brady in the next couple of days retires, like, we just ended his fucking career. Like, that's not nothing. On the road, here, my takeaway is, and I know social media is killing them. They didn't know how to end the game. Ultimately, they won on the road against the defending champs. Like, you won on the road against.
I go back to the Niner game. Like, they struggle to end the games because they don't run the ball well enough, right? Like, that's a real factor with the Rams right now. If you look at the Niner game and you look at this game, now multiple things went against them, but that is an area with them that is less than ideal. But
because their offensive line is not great. It's just not.
Well, is Whitworth going to be back next week?
Well, I mean,
hopeful,
that'll be one of the bigger stories probably of the week. But let's face it, like, Whitworth, I don't think the Niners are terrible. He ain't Trent Williams at this point. He's 40 years old. It's an incredible story that he's even still
But
playing.
there was just a domino effect.
For sure. You saw it with the Packers. They were missing guys. They had to move guys around.
You saw it with the Bucs.
Yeah, so the Niners, to me, the Niners, their biggest point of confidence is their defensive line right now. Like, I think they'd be licking their lips to play just about anyone, right?
Yeah.
They think they're going to go in and kick the shit out of you. And they literally just did to this group, 21 days ago? Like, they dictated the terms in that game as the thing got going.
Yes. After they got down big.
But it wasn't their fault.
No, it wasn't. All right. Can't wait. A lot of coverage coming all week long, every day. New videos on this YouTube channel, plus our podcast. We're going to have a great week, everybody. Thanks for joining us.
Subscribe.